increase their oil production and increase their exports, both to the United States and to the nations of Europe, with the goal of putting some extra oil onto the market and depreciating oil values to help the oil prices. Less of the oil is going to be imported from OPEC. However, still most of the same oil that we're importing now from OPEC, we would like to continue to flow, as well as oil imported from many other sources, such as Canada and other countries. With that said, what's going to happen next is that Russia is going to increase their oil supply to China, and that oil is going to be heavily subsidized. So they're going to sell it to China at very low prices, which is going to allow China to transition from right now using a lot of coal towards using more oil, which is going to help change their economy and better prepare it for the transition to alternative fuel sources and to the updating away from coal, which is even more damaging to their environment. To pay for those subsidies, all the other countries in the G8 are going to pay a slightly higher price for their oil in order that China can transition their economy and join the Kyoto Protocol. With China joining the Kyoto Protocol, the United States is going to sign the Kyoto Protocol. That's done with, so we're now included in it, as is China. Eventually, China is going to repay the countries that are now paying higher prices to subsidize their oil, with the date set on that being 2040 as the hopeful target date for those being repaid.
Well, we've taken into consideration the fact that it will be extremely difficult for China to transition from a coal-based industry to an oil-based industry. And that's the main reason and argument behind giving them the large subsidies. Now, the large subsidies, although they will initially be paid for by the members of the G8, with the exception of those who will not be importing oil from Canada, notably Canada and to some extent Japan, China will eventually be paying back those countries to whom it's indebted. And this, we came to the conclusion that this was the most effective way to both solve the oil crisis and get the United States and China to sign on to the Kyoto Protocol. We can take some questions. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Is it positive that with Russia now supplying America with all of this oil, that they're equipped to handle supplying another 300 million plus nations to their current supply?
Well, we've only agreed to supply about 6 other nations in addition to the United States. And written right into the agreement, Russia promises to invest at least 30% of their oil revenue back into their own industry. And currently the state-owned oil company is the largest exploration company in the world, and as such has the resources to expand rapidly. Now, while Russia will be taking on a greater portion of the world's oil trade, they won't necessarily have a monopoly, because all these countries will still be importing from their current suppliers. Matt.
This is a question directed primarily towards Nicolas Sarkozy and George Bush, but to all the leaders of the world's industrial countries. How do you intend to justify to your constituents that they will essentially be paying for China's gas for the next 15 years? When they've already protested and rioted in the streets.
Okay, the prices will, while we will be paying for China's gas prices, or oil prices, it will still be lower than the prices that we're paying to OPEC at this point. And eventually the money will be paid back and it will be handed out to the constituents that are having the issues now.
And from my perspective, this is really the only way that we could make sure to include China in the Kyoto Protocol, which is has been a key issue of mine and has kept me from signing it up until now. And the fact that China is now included means that in the long term, our economies are going to be on a level playing field as we transition towards alternative fuel sources as outlined under the Kyoto Protocol. So in the long run, it's really going to help stabilize the relationship between our two countries by placing us on an equal footing. And like President Sarkozy said, the prices will still be lower than they are now, and I'm hoping that in the long run, these things will flesh themselves out and work out well.
So, President, with the flood of Russian oil as well as OPEC oil, obviously that's going to significantly, that increased supply will significantly lower the prices of oil in the United States. At the same time, because of that low price, where is the economic incentive for United States citizens to switch to alternative fuel sources, switch to more fuel-efficient cars, and therefore reduce carbon emission?
Well, under the Kyoto Protocol, these things are outlined how the transition works. apply the incentives to the companies to transition. We need to invest in these technologies. And we need to make it very clear, and I think all my colleagues here would agree with that, to the people of our countries and to the industrialists in our countries, that if we don't act on this, the world is not going to be here for us to make money off of in say 100 years. We need to act now, and I think that the people of the United States and of the nations of the world are certainly intelligent enough and capable enough to grasp this and to recognize that it's going to be necessary to transition. And in the long run, of course, these things are going to be far more profitable for the average person than oil is now. We're talking about unlimited sources that we can bring in, such as solar power.
This is for Mr. President Bush. What kind of guarantee do we have that our good friends in Russia won't turn on us?
Well, I think, as has been made clear in our discussions, the global market is very much interconnected. As we continue to transition towards Russia, that's benefiting them in terms of their oil, in terms of their oil business, in terms of what they're bringing in. Should they decide to attempt to do some double dealing, as I would hope they wouldn't, things can be transitioned back to alternative sources to the way they were, or again, hopefully over time we're going to transition to alternative fuel sources, but we can reroute back the other way. But I have full confidence at this time in Mr. Medvedev's government and in the Russian government and in their oil industry in particular.
To the Canadian president, I understand that you're a major exporter to the United States of oil. So are you going to be able to sufficiently find other people to whom to sell your oil? And how do you feel about the fact the United States has diverted its flow from you?
Well, I don't think the United States is diverting its imports from me specifically. I think he's made that clear. I do, however, feel that he is making an unwise decision with this, but it's not really affecting me personally. And my oil is still being produced and is still being sold.
Yeah, the goal of this is to put more oil on the market. Like I said, all oil coming in from Canada and other places will remain the same. And I also would like to just make it clear that this was an agreement reached in concert with the entire G8 and previously been portrayed as a private deal between myself and President Medvedev. It began as such, that was the initiative, but after bringing it to the G8 and to the Chinese under President Jintao, like I said, we all agreed to it. It really is a joint initiative, and I couldn't be more pleased with the way this has worked out.
And it's also of note that while only these countries have agreed to this to import oil from Russia to an extent and therefore pay for China's subsidized oil, other countries are welcome to join. The treaty is laid out in such a way that you actually pay for China's subsidies based on how much you import from Russia. So it's in the best interest of all these countries here to open up avenues for importation to other countries by their populations.
What guarantees do we have that China is going to pay back this debt?
At this time, I'd actually like to invite President Jintao to give an answer to that question.
Speaking on the behalf of my people of China, I'd like to guarantee our devotion to this plan. At first we came in with the idea that we wanted to transition somehow. However, we were lost in how we could do this because it would take a serious economic fall to our country. So we couldn't do this without the help of other countries. We are a very honest country, so I don't think we're going to backstab anybody here. So I think you can trust us. That's all.
Thank you, Mr.
Alright, any last questions? In the front.
Are other exporting nations going to be able to keep their prices down by any?
Well, simply by the means of competition, supply and demand will be forced to lower their